Boom. Jasper, we're live.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, all zero people watching. I love this. I love having it's funny. Like when I first started doing this, I thought like, man, I gotta not look at the viewer count because I'm gonna be bummed because like I'm not having like 50 or 100 people watching. But
Wow, those
honestly,
are some high numbers.
honestly, I know, right? But honestly, it's worse when there's like two people watching. When there's zero people watching, I'm like, this is fine. When there's like two people, I'm like, oh, there's only two people.
Hmm.
That's when I
Well,
really
the
feel bad
cool
about
thing
myself.
about YouTube is I feel like most of the times on YouTube, I just watch the replay. So you don't know if it's zero people. It could be a million people. Maybe
I
this is the best podcast ever, and it goes so viral. People watch it for the next 500 years.
Who knows, man? Maybe. I mean, there have been a couple that have gotten a fair number of viewers after the fact.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
interviewed Pete Davis from this. Um, he does a lot of he has his own solo project, but he does a lot of like math rock. That thing hit like 80 views the other day, which is pretty cool. 80.
That's awesome.
I'll
Congratulations.
take 80. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I on Twitch when you stream, you always get one viewer
Which is
because
you.
that's just
Yep.
which is you. So you never get zero. But I never got 100. But I was streaming last weekend. I did a game jam last weekend, which was really fun, and it was for a Extra Life. You know that charity?
Mm-mm.
It's like a 24-hour charity, and they do them all over the US and Canada. This one was in Canada, but like the LA one just happened like a few days ago.
Hmm.
It's like a 24-hour stream where lots of streamers play video games, and all the donations go to children's hospitals.
Oh, sweet.
So super cool event.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we were doing a game jam for this group of researchers who make BCI games, which is brain control interface, something like
Oh,
that,
fuck.
where you hook them up to your
Sweet.
brain, and it's for people who have limited use of hands, arms, so maybe quadriplegic. So making games where the controller is on your brain and controlled with yeah, your thoughts.
That's fucking
So
cool, dude.
yeah,
That's
super awesome. And so when I was streaming last week, I was just streaming, writing all the music, so that was really fun. But they had their own stream. B-side had their own stream going, so I had 10 viewers for 3 or 4 hours.
nice,
And that was
bro.
really fun. Yeah, it was great.
Nice.
And I've had a lot of different types of streams before. You just have to find something that feels right to you. For a while, I did practice streams where I wouldn't say anything, and those always felt so awkward. I just didn't know what to say. I didn't have a microphone, so I just practiced. I know some people who do that. I've seen those streams before. Sometimes they're fun. Uh,
I jumped on, Reddit's doing a little bit of an experimental streaming service now. And I jumped on one time figuring, I'm practicing, fuck it, I'll go live. And I wasn't really paying attention, and then at one point I just like looked at the view count, it was like 1.9 thousand.
really?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of people, and it
Wow.
stayed relatively steady the whole time. And people were like asking questions and stuff. It was really fun. And I'm thinking about maybe trying to figure out how to stream this to Reddit, but I don't know how to do it if like not on my phone. Like if you go on the
This is on your
subreddit.
phone?
No. This is not on my phone. This is on my computer.
Oh,
I don't know how to stream to Reddit on something besides my cell phone. Um,
oh.
I think there's a way to do it from your computer, but I'm just too fucking lazy to figure it out.
So maybe the hot new place is
It's
Reddit.
Reddit. Yeah.
Ooh.
Um,
But there probably aren't any donations there. Not that that's the point of anything.
no. No, you can't. You can't. Well, I mean, you can do like Reddit awards, but you're not getting actual money. You're just getting like Reddit Premium for a month,
Have you
whatever
seen
the
any
fuck
of
that
the
means.
yeah, have you seen any of the VTubers?
I don't know what that is now.
Oh, it's this huge trend right now where I don't know exactly how it works. I think it takes the facial recognition points in your face and puts it to a little anime character. You can design an anime character,
Oh, God.
and then you can do like a vocoder voice change. So it's like this big wave of like little anime girls streaming like Call of Duty and all these other games. It's very popular right now. It's pretty crazy.
The weebs are out of
Uh,
control. That's
I
that's the
don't know.
next genocide that we need to have is the
I think it's
weebs.
awesome. It seems like You don't, well, not the genocide. That's a little
Mm-mm.
over the top. I think the VTuber seems really awesome because you don't have to, if you don't really want to show your
Right.
face, you don't want to show your voice, even if you have a bad camera, you just need the facial points to
Sure.
lock into. So it seems awesome.
I actually think
Seems like a really
I think I
cool.
did. I think I did see a video one time where yeah, actually, like a guy was he had like a rabbit on his face, and I
Mm-hmm,
guess he didn't want to show his face on stream, so he had this. I guess I was thinking of it more like it was like a virtual mask.
mm-hmm.
And at one point during the stream, like whatever software he was using crashed, but he didn't realize
Oh,
it, so
that's
his face
awkward.
was revealed for like 10 minutes, and
That's
then you
awkward.
see him like just lose his shit. He's like, "Oh my fucking god, my face!" Um, he didn't have a bad face, you know. He had a nice face, but I guess he wanted to stay anonymous. Um, that kind of reminds me of the wave of deepfakes that are probably coming in the next few
uh,
years. Have you seen the the guys that created South Park have a new show out called Sassy Justice?
uh-uh.
Um, it's fucking hilarious. So they play different characters. One of them plays the main. His name is like David Sassy or something. He's this
Mm-hmm,
like think like early 2000s like investigative
mm-hmm.
journalism on like Fox or something like that.
Yeah.
They have a van and the other this kind of confrontation guerrilla journalism. But the whole time like they're always warning people about deep fakes, but the guy that playing the main character is a deep
Is
fake
deep
of
fake.
Donald Trump, like as this
That's pretty
flamboyantly
funny.
gay man.
Uh-huh.
And they have
What's that called?
Sassy Justice.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious. And what's like in the first episode, they keep talking about like this like threat of deep fakes, and every time they go to an
Mhm.
example of a deep fake, like deep fakes are like a problem. Like look at this deep fake of Tom Cruise, and it's just this really shitty puppet of someone going, "I'm Tom Cruise, I'm Tom Cruise," and it's great. I was watching it last night. I was kind of laughing, but then it kind of hit me that like um I don't know. I guess like we didn't really have any of that. But like this past election, but I feel like it might be coming up, but I have no idea. I do want to deep fake myself as the character in like Lord of the Rings, but I'm every character.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's one of the
Joe
things I'm working
Engel,
on.
Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings.
the
Lord of
credits,
the
Lord of the
Joes.
Joes. I'm gonna have the credits as just everyone is me.
That'd
But
be really awesome. That'd be fun.
so with the composing streams,
Hmm.
what are you writing? How are you writing?
Well,
How
last
deep,
year I tried
Jasper?
to take it a little seriously, uh, and
Just
stream
last.
like regularly, have
Oh,
a
okay.
schedule, and write a lot of music, and that was really fun. I got a lot of strangers in the chat because I'd always give it like game dev titles. That's the key to getting anything seen, at least in my experience. I've been making a lot of pixel art recently,
Hmm.
but if I just put a hashtag game dev, then all of a sudden more people look at it and want to talk about it.
Interesting.
Uh,
Okay.
so last year, and I mean, a lot of the music I write is video game music.
Hmm.
But I'd have people come in and ask what kind of video game I was making, and I'd be like, "Well, it's not a video game." But so that was really fun. This last weekend when I was doing the game jam, that was my first time streaming this year, and it was really nice. I felt I totally took all the pressure off by not having to talk every second. I tried to keep it pretty chill. Sometimes when you're in the zone, you don't want to talk through every little
Hmm.
decision you're making anyway.
Right.
That's like you're playing cello, and while you're playing, you're dissecting every decision you're making like out loud. It's just like
It
you
doesn't
want to hear the
work.
music.
Yeah, it doesn't
No.
work. Yeah.
So that was really fun. And the only problem is it's like another computer software RAM issue.
Mm.
That using my DAW and using my video capture just takes up a lot of resources for my computer. And my computer, when it gets like working, it just like hisses. It's just like
Yeah. Yeah.
so then, like every time I talk, because I have a mute and unmute button, so every time I talk, it's like there's this shh in the background that's just like so obnoxious because it is like I'm running like 90 tracks in my 90 channels in my audio software,
Jesus.
and then recording video, then recording audio. So it's like a lot of stuff going on.
Hmm.
So that's like an issue I don't know how to fix yet. I think
More
just like
RAM?
build a new PC. Yeah,
Yeah, or
build a
build a
new
new PC.
PC, set it up.
Do you have a laptop?
Yeah, right now I have a laptop,
I
but
mean, you check into it because I discovered that you can actually, like my laptop, you can actually replace the RAM. Like you can
yeah,
up to
double
32
it.
gigs. Well, I
Yeah.
went from one 4 gig RAM card to I could have gone up to 32 gigs with two 8 gig
Whoa.
cards,
Whoa.
but I just went up to 16, and it was cheap. It's like $40 for each of the cards.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's just you
Well,
just kind of clip them in.
yeah.
It's
This
easy.
winter I'm trying to build a whole new PC. Get a big rig going.
You gonna get that
Uh
RBG?
I don't know if that is that one of the ones with water that goes through the
Nah, that's
computers.
just where everything has like color lights on it. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't need to be that decadent. Uh
You could make a
yeah.
sleeper one. You could find one of those old like gateway shells and build a like really badass PC in that. So
Yeah.
it looks like it's just from like your mom's house from 1999, but
Yeah, that's so funny because I've been cleaning out my mom's house and I found an old iMac from like
oh,
early 90s, and it's that yellow sort of like
mm,
used to be white, now it's yellow plastic. I found some cool things that'd make some
sweet,
awesome PC covers.
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of houses, uh, tell me about the tiny house. Why the tiny house? Where is the tiny house?
Yeah.
And what's how, I mean, I feel like that there's probably going to be like or probably was a pretty big like adjustment period.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, I'm living in a tiny house now, which is really awesome. I've had this dream for a long time. I feel like everyone's had that phase where they watch that show on HGTV or YouTube about tiny houses or van life, and it's like, man,
Oh,
that
I
looks
do
so
that.
fun.
Yeah.
And it's like a big like compulsion that I know a lot of people to feel to like run away, to be like, I'm done with the city. I'm going to a farm and I'm going to live in a tiny house. So it's a feeling that I've at least heard a lot of people express,
Uh-huh.
and it feels great to run away. I don't know if you've ever felt like running away, but tiny house is the best place to go. So
I kind of did run away. I mean, moving to Denver was a little bit like running away for me. It was
yeah,
definitely
that's
I needed to
awesome.
get out of my hometown and my family. But so are
So
you
you've already fulfilled that need.
a little bit, yeah. Although I feel like creeping up year by year. I feel like creeping up behind me, like you're gonna want to run
I know.
away again, bitch.
Uh,
So
and even
what
I have it.
happened?
I have one of those. Yeah. So when the pandemic started, well, like June, I decided to move up north. To my uncle has a farm up here, up in Laporte, Colorado. So, and they had built a tiny house a couple of years ago. So I thought that'd be an awesome opportunity for me to try out while the pandemic's going on. Everyone's staying inside. I've had this dream of a tiny home forever. So I thought it'd be an awesome opportunity. It is pretty small though. 10 by 10 is not very
It's
big.
very
That's
small.
like you walk 10 feet in one direction, 10 feet in another direction, and you just gone through half the tiny house. So,
I mean, I know for a fact my studio is bigger than your house.
yeah, it looks like it. I can
Yeah.
see that it's bigger.
It's about
Uh,
I think it's 14 this way, 16 that way.
Yeah. And I've gone through a lot of changes in the tiny house so far. Well, one of my things that I love having in any space is a couch. I
Hmm.
don't know. I just need a couch. Like I when you work all day, you like write music, you work really hard, your brain's fried. Nothing feels better than me than like sinking
Sitting
into a
down on the couch.
couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like your butt's on the edge of the couch, your neck's like this. Oh, it just feels so
That
great. And you just
slouch.
watch
Yeah.
some TV or
Yeah.
something. Uh, so that was really important to me. I thought that was number one when I moved in here. So I got like a already used pull-out couch.
Sweet.
The couch wasn't that comfortable. The bed was worse. But I was like, well, at least I have a couch, and I made it like that for like 2 months or so. Uh, Before it just like, man, it felt so bad.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I didn't realize how important sleep was to me. My
Yeah.
whole life before this, I'd been living on just like hand-me-down mattresses. Put the mattress on the floor, you sleep on it, then you go do like the fun, exciting parts of your life.
I think once you hit
Uh,
like 25 or 26 is when
yeah, I'm
you
right there,
stop being
man.
able to sleep anywhere. I was
Yeah,
the same way. I had when I moved to Denver, I bought a used mattress for like
yeah,
$300 if that, which is
yeah.
not a lot for a
Uh-huh.
mattress.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just lived on the floor on the box spring. and I had shitty pillows. I spent $5 on a pillow from Walmart.
Uh-huh.
Nothing
Uh-huh.
nice. And then
I've had that one.
eventually it started getting to where like I'd wake up and my neck's like, and I can't,
Yeah.
my could feel my vertebrae grinding, and then like living with my girlfriend, she's got a really really soft bed, which feels
Yeah.
really nice when you first get into it, but
Yeah.
is not. I don't know. I'm getting to the point where I think I might need another bed, but yeah, it's hard. So you got an actual bed.
Well, like, I totally agree. Girlfriends have the best beds ever. My bed situation right now, I've modeled off of a past ex-girlfriend's bed because I was like, that was like the most comfortable bed I'd ever been on my whole life. So I got a really nice mattress, really nice memory foam mattress. It's like this thick.
Nice.
And then I built a really high bed frame. So this is a little secret the whole game for tiny house living is trying to be efficient with your space, trying to figure out how you can use every bit of space in the tiny home.
Yeah.
So I have a really high bed. It's like over 3 feet off the ground, but then there's tons of storage space underneath. So I keep tea down there. I keep clothes down there. I just keep a lot of things, shoes under there. So that's like an awesome use of space for a tiny home.
Nice. Okay. That was actually the next thing I was going to ask you was how do you, like, what are some tricks besides, like, you're talking about this kind of high bed with the storage underneath. What else have you done to kind of maximize storage and space and utility without feeling really cramped? Because like that's my fear about, I'm very claustrophobic. That's my fear about a tiny home, is that I would just feel just fucking boxed in like a sardine all the time.
Yeah. And I think I'm a little different. When I was growing up, my parents were hoarders. Like, if you've ever been through a hoarder's house, you have to walk like this anywhere you go because there's just stuff everywhere. So now that this tiny house to me feels so spacious and comfortable for me because anywhere I go, I can stretch out in any direction and not hit anything.
Oh, wow.
So it feels great. Yep. So it's a little bit about perspective, but I'd say the hardest thing about tiny house living that I think most people wouldn't adjust to easily, and I know I didn't, you just have to get rid of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You have to make those hard decisions like, well, I can either have a couch or a bed. So you have to choose. You can't have both. You choose one or the other. And that's the same with, for a while, I was using like a nice big TV as my computer monitor. So I could go to the couch, watch TV, and then when I work, I'll have this huge monitor so I can do all fun work on it. But then my neck started hurting. So it was, do I get rid of this nice TV? So it's just a bunch of these little decisions that you have to make, which are really hard. And then it's the same with clothes. Like, if you don't have a lot of room for clothes, you can only have like 5 shirts. So you have to get rid of all the other shirts. But I think this is all great stuff in the long run. I mean, the feeling I had a lot last year was after a while, the things start to own you. The worst one for me was like nicotine, like vaping or smoking. Those things I felt like began to own me. Like, can't leave the house without them. If you lose them, then it's the worst nightmare. So that's how a lot of this, that's how it's felt for owning all this stuff. Like, I haven't played French horn in years, even though I used to play it all the time. But I used to carry it around from place to place wherever I'd move. And I'd have to make sure that it was in a nice space where it wouldn't get damp, had to make sure nothing was on top of it, had to make sure it was safe. And so after a while, it felt like that thing was owning me. I didn't tell it where to stay. It was like, okay, you have to keep care of me because I'm this French horn you don't play anymore. So that's what it's been like very freeing for me, getting rid of all this stuff. So it's like, wow, I actually like own my life now. Awesome.
When I moved this last time, I decided, despite my feelings of, just, I don't know what you would call a feeling of like knowing like I got to get rid of a bunch of my shit and not wanting to do that. Like knowing you have to do it, but feeling like this is a bad or hard thing to do. Whatever. I was facing that and I decided like
it is hard.
Every time I move, I seem to just accumulate shit that I don't ever fucking use, and it sits in my closet. And there's some things that I think are fine, like plates. Okay, if you don't use that one plate all the time, okay, fine, but it's a plate. Like leave it, it's fine. Leave it in the cabinet, But like clothes and like an old computer that I had, and I was like, nothing out of.
I still have an old computer.
Yeah, but I mean, like to me, again, matter of perspective. To me, nothing out of this computer is valuable. Nothing of it works in my laptop. It's not like I can, swap anything out. The hard drive was valuable because it had a bunch of old, recordings and stuff on there. So, I pulled that out. But the shell of the computer that doesn't work anymore, it's like, why am I lugging this thing around? And so once I started, when I was moving, what I did was I would set up a box to put stuff in. I would set up a second box, and that was my trash box, or slash my donation box. And I would say, okay, I'm gonna open up this cabinet. I'm gonna pull two things out. Okay, I've got this and this. All right, I can keep one. And
vape juice and a glass of yogurt.
A glass of yogurt. I can keep one, and I can give one away.
Okay, I know which one I would pick.
Yeah, and well, obviously that's not the example, but it was. Sometimes I found myself going, you know what? I'll give both of these away. And once you fill up that first box, and then you go to sleep and you wake up and you realize I haven't missed any of this shit.
Yeah,
it's really easy to just keep going, and I managed to get rid of a lot of stuff. Donating and just kind of throwing shit away that I was like, why do I have this shirt that has holes in it? Just fucking throw it away,
Well, one thing I noticed your big bookcase in the background,
yes,
which looks awesome.
Thanks.
That was another one that was really hard for me, was getting rid of my books. I've loved reading them. I don't need to carry around a book I've read twice before in my whole life. The books I have now, I have like 2 or 3 orchestration books because I can't find PDFs of them. Sure. And sometimes you just need to, like when you can't figure out a passage of music, you're like, how do I orchestrate this? The easiest thing for me to is open up a book.
Yeah.
But the book one is really hard because books are so sentimental to me.
Very sentimental.
But yeah, I just had to realize I didn't toss them, but they're no longer with me.
There were parts they're not parts, but there were some books that I had realized that I had since I was like 13.
Yeah,
never
same
read them.
here.
Never read them. Giant, like a full book of what's that guy's name? Not Jack Frost, but
Shel Silverstein.
No, not Shel Silverstein. Those are at my parents' house.
Robert Frost.
Robert Frost, yeah. He wrote all these
What'd you call him? Jack Frost?
Jack Frost. That's not Jack Frost. Robert Frost. This whole anthology of Robert Frost. I guess it was Robert Frost, but whatever. It's just this guy named Frost, and he wrote all of these like books about like Alaska and fictional stories of people trekking through the Alaskan wilderness. And I realized that I had never I barely read it. I had maybe read the first 1 or 2 little short stories, and I was like, yeah, okay, I've had this since I was 13, but why is that sentimental? Why is having something for a long time sentimental if I've never read it, or can't really tell you about the stories, even the ones that I've read. So that was hard, but there is something I think about a book versus some other little maybe piece of kitsch or something where that book's got knowledge and information in it, and it's culturally there's a cultural anathema to destroying a book,
well, you don't have to destroy it.
I know, but still getting rid of it is hey, it could just as well be just Goodwill throws away a bunch of shit. Just because you donate stuff to Goodwill doesn't mean it's not ending up in a dumpster somewhere. But still, it's not putting it to use kind of feels like it's a sin almost.
It sounds like that those books are beginning to own you, Joe. They're telling you what to do, how to live your life.
No, I got rid of so I have these books here, and there's a small
I bet a lot of
books.
those are music books.
There's a fair amount. Yeah, there's a small pile of books here. That's about half the books that I actually owned.
Wow.
So the top shelf is my favorite sci-fi fantasy series ever written. So that one's staying up there. The second shelf is it's mostly music textbooks and other stuff like that.
Those are good. Music textbooks are good.
And then I have 2 boxes from Beats headphones that I use to store playing cards and strings and shit in. Just because it keeps them organized. I used to just take spare strings and I would just shove them in my bookshelf, which is stupid. So I put them in that box. And then down there is scores. And the bottom shelf is more music books. And the bottom shelf is full set of Groves and Milton Cross anthology.
That's intense. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And then
That's a fun library.
all this shit here is just like fantasy. I have like an Origin of the Species, just random nonsense books that I find very valuable, that I've read many times and will continue to read. So I tried to be
Nice.
really careful. That was another thing that I tried to do, was like, it was hard because I just had so many fucking books, but just look at each one and be like,
Uh-huh.
is this really something I'm going to read again? Do I really feel this way?
Yeah.
Or am I just like, no, there's a chance I might read it again? So
Well, Joe, what's a book you've read recently that you like, worth recommending, that you want to brag to people that you read?
So I went on a bit of a nostalgia kick. I've been kind
Okay.
of rereading some sci-fi, fantasy, and some nonfiction that I read when I was a kid. And
Uh-huh.
when I was a kid, I really loved this author named Graham Bass, and he wrote a book called "The Worst Band in the Universe,"
Oh,
which is
that
about
looks awesome.
it's about this little guy named Sprock. He's a musician, and he
Uh-huh.
lives on a planet called Blip. And
Mm.
on Blip, you cannot write new music, you can't improvise, you can't innovate, you can only play
Mm.
the standards that have been passed down for hundreds and thousands of years, right?
Oh.
So Blip decides that he's gonna
Uh-oh.
go as a young Sprocklet, as a young Blippian. Sprock is gonna go, and he's gonna innovate, right? Well, he
Mhm.
ends up pissing off the musical High Inquisitor, who exiles him to this planet. While he's on this planet, he learns of this competition called the Worst Band in the Universe competition. And
Oh.
so this planet also is like, you don't play anything besides here's the songs you can play. You can't play
Plain
them
jam.
any differently. Yeah, basically. And so he enters the Worst Band in the Universe competition because everyone's like, who wants to be the best band around here? If you're the worst band, it means you're the most creative and original. So he enters, but it turns out it's just a ploy by the musical Inquisitor.
To send him to jail.
Yes, actually, he exiles him to a trash planet, and that's the story. And then obviously he escapes the trash planet and does other things. But the art in that book is fucking fantastic. The story's really well written, and it's one of those things that like I remember reading as a kid, and then you go back to as an adult, and you're like, this is actually kind of like this is not like it's a kid's book, but it's
Yeah.
also like
Yeah.
there's a really good story here.
I love things that hold up.
Yeah. And
Joe,
just
you
the
like
art's beautiful.
you like sci-fi, it seems.
I love sci-fi.
You're a little bit of a sci-fi junkie.
I love sci-fi. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think that there's like just the level of creativity that an author can employ. If you are writing a story that's sort of like set in like today in Aurora, Colorado, you've got your setting basically made for you. You've got your environment made for you. You've got your culture made for you. When you're creating a planet that exists 100,000 years in the future, you have to create the technology, the history.
It's a lot of world building.
It's a lot of world building, and I almost like I think in a lot of sci-fi and fantasy, the main characters tend to not be the individuals that you follow, but they really tend to be the sort of world that's created. And looking at it from that perspective, I find to be a lot more interesting and thought-provoking than some other nonfiction that I've read. But that's just me.
Yeah. Nonfiction is boring.
Nonfiction is boring. Fiction is boring. I think
I like nonfiction.
I like nonfiction too. There's a really great book I'm in the middle of reading called Amending America, which is about how the Constitution's been amended and what that process is like, and why things have why we've made amendments, and it's really fascinating. There's a really good book called What We Believe But Can't Prove.
Ghosts.
Ghosts, right? Which is it's just like little short essays written by scientists and researchers, people who are very much very analytical, very logical minded people, who are basically saying, here's something that I believe, but I have zero proof, or I don't have conclusive proof for it. And it's really interesting because it humanizes people in that field a little bit. It's really easy to look at someone and be like, they're a scientist, so they're purely logical. They have no imagination.
Yeah,
blah, blah.
robots.
But
what about gravity? Can we prove gravity?
Are we going the flat Earth route right now, Jasper? Let's do it. Let's go deep.
No,
Let's go deep.
I'm a no gravity believer. I don't believe in gravity. I don't think it's real.
Are you serious?
No, I'm joking.
I wasn't sure. I don't give a shit. Like, let's riff about it. But speaking of shit that's not real, vegans. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm just kidding.
That was a good transition.
I find it well. I find it interesting. Kind of to get back to the tiny house thing. That you're living on a farm. Yeah. You said you're
Yeah.
living on a farm, but
Yeah.
you are a non-animal product consumer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's a really cool space. There's a lot of animals out here. There's also a big greenhouse with tons of veggies.
Sweet.
Like 5 of my tiny homes worth of veggies. The only ones that are alive right now are kale, though. Everything else, I mean, it's getting cold. I love kale. Come on, man.
Kale's all
Yeah,
right.
there are a lot of animals here. Just the other day, I heard a knock on my door. Didn't sound like a human knocking, but I got up, went to my door, and there's a little bird. There's a bird standing right outside my door. It just pecking on my door. So that was really awesome.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it's a space that's not. It's a lot of open space around. There's a river like a mile away. Lots of deer come by through here. So I'll be working at my computer.
Wow.
I'll look outside the window and it'll be just like a herd of deer. There are some ones that come by a lot, like a mama and 2 babies. Those are hanging out over here all the time. But recently there have been 2 bucks with 1 antler each.
Oh shit.
Isn't that weird?
That's really strange.
I don't know why. So that's really awesome. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's a rooster. You'll probably hear that over and over. Tons of chickens, hens, and roosters. Yeah, and all of it is just like a big affirmation to be vegan. And what do you think vegan means? Because I'm going to correct you.
Well, I wanna get there in a second, but I just want to clarify. When you
Uh-huh.
say you're living on a farm, I assume you're meaning like a family farm, rural, where
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
raising maybe a few animals or some chickens, and but not like a mass production commercial
No,
farm.
just a family farm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do I think vegan means? Well, clearly I'm wrong, because earlier you said you wanted to correct me on the difference between vegan and
Yeah.
plant-based.
Yeah.
So, well, obviously, I mean, I guess I believe that the definition is / was someone who does not consume animal products for some reason or another. I think you could
Yeah,
have
that's a great answer.
you could have different reasons for being vegan, right? Like, so I know someone who's vegan simply because he just cannot stand the idea in any circumstance of ever consuming animal products for your own sustenance. Like, to him, it is you are just taking advantage. You are death is basically your sustenance. But I also know somebody who's a vegan.
That sounds like a vegan.
I also know somebody who is, well, that sounds like what you think a vegan is. I also know somebody who is a vegan simply because they do not like the taste of meat.
Yeah.
And I've met someone who's a vegan because their stance was a little more nuanced, because they were basically like, I don't like factory farming, but I think there would be a way to produce and consume animal products that does not cause suffering to the animal. And that would be an ethical way to actually consume animal products. Now, all 3 of those people call themselves a vegan. I don't really care as much about the label as the philosophy behind, do you consume animal products or not, or to what degree?
Yeah, that's a great answer. There's a lot of good nuggets in there. I think
Chicken
in
nuggets?
general, it's
Right.
veggie nuggets.
Kale nuggets?
I think in general, it's pretty hard to talk about being vegan, because I think a lot of people get a weird anger towards vegans, especially preachy vegans. Like, the more preachy you are as a vegan, the more people are going to be upset at you and say things like, I'm going to eat 2 hamburgers tonight.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. I mean, think a lot of meat eaters have those feelings towards vegans, but the true definition, if you want to call it true, is what veganism was founded on, is the idea that you should live your life in a way that practically limits animal suffering to a degree that's possible for you. So it's not a diet, it's more of a spiritual philosophy that you should live your life in a way where you don't needlessly harm animals, whether it's dogs, cats.
This is the Peter Singer philosophy, right? So I think specifically he just said suffering, period. He didn't really specify animal suffering, but he said because he specifically was saying that it doesn't really make sense to make a distinction between humans and animals on the level of whether or not they can suffer. Now, he was pretty clear that you can make a distinction between humans and animals on the sense of whether one should be president, or like who should be president. Clearly, a chicken shouldn't be president. That doesn't make any sense. But as far as can they suffer and to what degree, what he was saying is it's not really, it doesn't make any sense based on what we know now to try to make those distinctions, but rather to operate on assumption that a chicken can suffer as much as a human can.
Yeah.
And if we would not kill and eat a human simply because we were hungry, maybe we shouldn't do the same for a chicken.
Yeah. Or a dog or a cat.
Yeah. Sure.
And I spent a lot of my life before this as plant-based, and plant-based is a diet. Plant-based diet is no animal products of any kind. So no meat, no dairy, no eggs. And I've lived a large part of my life before this as plant-based.
So as far as what you eat, what's the difference between veganism and plant-based?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's like squares and rectangles. So plant-based is a diet and veganism is a philosophy. But here's the interesting thing.
So vegans would be plant-based though, right?
Well, let me explain the difference, because this is so funny. When you go shopping, you'll see, it's a buzzword right now, plant-based and vegan. You'll see a lot of things that say plant-based on them, and some say plant-based and vegan. So maybe you've been to Burger King or Carl's Jr. and had the Impossible Burger. Have you tried that?
I have had the Impossible Burger, yeah.
Okay, and there's Impossible and Beyond, two different kinds of burgers.
Beyond Meat, right? That's what it's called, Beyond Meat.
Yeah, Beyond Meat and Impossible, and those are both plant-based, but only one is vegan. So the Impossible Burger, they taste test against real meat. So they have a cow burger and they have an Impossible Burger, and they go, okay, we need to change the Impossible Burger like this. So that is plant-based, but not vegan, because they have to harm animals to make the product. Whereas Beyond Meat, they don't do any animal testing of any kind, so they are vegan certified. And you have to go through all these steps to be actually vegan certified. So like, I was at the store the other day with this knowledge, and I'm buying all these things that say vegan on them, and I get to these tasty, like, organic Oreo-like cookies, and all over they say plant-based on them, but they don't say vegan. So then I'm like, then it's like, I have to think about it. Like, how did they make these Oreos plant-based, but in a way that causes animal suffering?
But Oreo, well, so two things there. Regular Oreos are already vegan.
Plant-based. I don't know if they are vegan. They might be vegan and plant-based.
I was told. I was told they're vegan because there's absolutely zero. There's no eggs. There's no butter. There's no nothing in them. It's all it's all plants. The other thing to me though, and I haven't paid close enough attention to the labeling to I didn't know that there was I figured it was just sort of up to the producer to say plant-based or vegan, and that they were sort of interchangeable. At the same time though, I also know that words like natural mean nothing as far as labeling. Same thing with organic. It basically means nothing. There is a little bit of regulation behind it, but it doesn't mean that there's no pesticides. It doesn't mean that it's healthier for you. It doesn't mean that it's fresher. And
it's more expensive.
And so it means it's more expensive. So my question would be, and I need to look more into this because I did not know about this distinction in labeling. Would be to what degree those words are actually meaningful. And regulated. Because like I could just pick kale from my garden and go, hey, it's vegan. Okay, so what? Like that doesn't really tell you anything about the product.
Well, to have a vegan product, you have to get certified. But to be plant-based, you just don't use animal products. So what I was thinking about these Oreos is like they make these like plant-based Oreos, no dairy, no eggs, whatever, and then they put it on the backs of like two mules and have them carry them like 10,000 miles and like whip the mules the whole time. So that would be like, they would be plant-based but not vegan, because those two mules are paying the price. So I want to talk. So that's like
makes more sense. So they both involve having no animal products in the product itself.
But one is about animal suffering.
Right. So you could have just to make sure I'm understanding. You could have a product that has no animal products in it, no meat, no cheese, no dairy, no eggs, no nothing. But if you're using animal labor, for instance, to produce it, then it would not be, because it's still gotcha.
That's exactly it. Or for example, like if you get palm oil and you collect it from the spaces where orangutans live.
Hmm.
So if you're destroying their habitats for palm oil, that would be plant-based but not vegan.
So there's also an environmental aspect to this too. If like of like just
Yeah.
okay. So that's one point that's always stuck for me because
Uh-huh.
I grew up on a small farm.
Uh-huh.
And I'm very, very aware of the destruction of habitat that can happen, even on a small scale, just by growing corn, by tilling up earth. And this was
Yeah.
in like our yard where there weren't even any trees or anything, no bushes growing anyway. So like maybe there were some bugs living there, but nothing like a mouse or something. But you are still talking about places where situations where when you go to harvest these 40, 50, 60 acres that you planted, you're destroying
Yeah.
homes
Yeah, it's pretty
of
sad.
mice and owls and things like that. And so it's like,
Yeah.
even though something says it's vegan because there's no animal labor, how can you be sure that you haven't actually indirectly caused suffering or environmental destruction by eating that
Yeah.
product?
Yeah. That's such a great question. And it really goes down the rabbit hole. Like if I was on a desert island and there were only like steaks around me, perfectly cooked steaks, would I eat them or would I die? So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, part of the vegan philosophy is to as practical as possible. And if it's life or death for me, I'm gonna have to eat meat.
Right.
Uh,
And one of my own objections to that
mhm.
what I just said about destroying the environment is um it's it's a bit of a straw man to be like, well, vegans are claiming, or at least attempting, to live with zero animal suffering or zero
Trying,
environmental
but
impact. I
it
mean,
will never be
okay,
possible.
fine,
Yeah.
you can try,
Uh-huh.
but claiming to do so, I don't think is anything that anybody who has even half a brain is gonna even try to do. But that the effort is to minimize animal
Exactly.
suffering and
As
environmental
far as
destruction.
practical,
Right.
as
I think
practical as
I think
possible.
that's an important distinction to make because I have been in conversations with people, and I've said this myself, but
Mhm.
I've been in conversations and listened to debates and dialogues where someone goes, well, hey, all that kale that you really love to eat, all these mice are dying, so what the fuck are you even doing in the
Yeah.
first place?
Uh-huh.
It is a bit of a straw man. Uh, yeah.
Well, and let me just mention why I changed from being plant-based to be vegan. Uh, and my dog died back in March, and I right after he died, I watched this movie called Okja, which is a Korean film about this big, cute monster uh, that's just so adorable. And they just kidnapped the animal, put it through all these, put it in a cage. And as I was watching the movie, I just couldn't help but see my dog, my
Mm.
cute little dog Tootie. And then after that, I started every time I'd see a cow or a pig or a chicken, I would just see like Tootie staring back up at me. It was like the weirdest thing ever.
Mm.
And he was just my best friend, the sweetest little guy ever. And so after that, I just uh, could no longer live my life in a way that was mean to these little fellows who are so nice and so sweet and just trying to live their life just like us. And I've heard the discussion about farmed animals or like free range animals. But man, no one wants to die, man. No one wants to be killed.
So two things there really quickly.
Yeah.
I think you're making a positive claim when you say that they're trying to live their lives just like us. I
Uh-huh.
don't know that that's true. Um, I don't know the extent to which a pig has the concept of living a life in the same way that I have a concept of living a life. Like my idea of living a
Yeah.
life is I'm trying to improve myself every day as a person and as a musician. I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I'm trying to, provide for the people that I love. And I don't know that a pig is thinking that. I'm not saying that they're not, but I don't know that they are. And I think that's a point where I'm just I need more information. As somebody who's grown up raising animals, who I have then participated in slaughtering and eating, again, it's like they don't want to die. Okay, again, you kind of have to show that. Do they even have a concept of death? You have to have a concept of death for it to be something that you want to avoid anyway. The natural impulse to preserve your own existence is not necessarily predicated on an awareness that your existence can be lost, right? Like for instance, I don't think for a second a mouse knows having sex means you're going to have babies. But they still have a natural impulse to do so because it means you're going to have babies. And I think that you could also, you could potentially, and I don't want to get too deep into a discussion about slaughtering, but I think you could potentially, well, I don't think it's potential. I think you can slaughter an animal in a way that is basically completely instantaneous and painless to them. So one of the ways that we I don't know if you want to get too into this, but when I was a kid, we had a few ways of going about this, and it's pretty obviously not painful for them. At least they're not suffering in the sense that it's a prolonged period of pain. So I don't know how much that factors into it for you.
Well, there's one other important part about being a vegan, and that's commodification. Choosing what's a commodity in your life and what's not a commodity. Like I'd wear a nice silver ring or a silver necklace. And I've got some rocks on my piano that have been cut up and shine and look real nice. I've got rocks all over here. So rocks are a great commodity for me. And so the last part of being a vegan that's included in the formal definition is refusing to make animals a commodity. So treating them with respect and dignity that you wouldn't treat them like a rock or a piece of silver or a piece of paper. So that's just the last part of veganism that's really important to me, which is why vegans won't wear leather or leather shoes, whatever, because that's just basically saying this animal deserves to be sliced up and worn as a jacket. So that's the last part. So that's even without saying if they suffer or whatever, just treating them differently than you treat like rocks, man. I think animals are worth more than rocks.
I would agree with you entirely. Does this idea of that we shouldn't commodify animals, does this extend to humans as well?
It gets so tricky, doesn't it, man? Because choosing where you buy clothes from.
Well, no, that's not really where I'm going. What I'm asking is if you have a philosophy, if there's a philosophy that we should not commodify animals, in any way for any part of their body, for their labor, anything like that, does that also extend to human beings?
Well, here's a great point. It would be vegan if you drank a human's milk. If they gave consent for it. And so that's one of the hard issues with cows is they can't say, yes, go ahead and drink my milk, but a human could. So here's where a human could say, here you go. So then the part where the consent for humans get tricky is like imagine a clothing shop in China or somewhere else in the world where it's little kids who aren't paid very much. That's a little that's an issue that's a little more complicated than
I'm actually thinking about. I'm thinking about actually two different examples, but I want to go back to the cow thing. I grew up raising dairy goats, and they fucking loved getting milked in the morning. We would open the door and they would run into the barn and they'd get right up on that milking stand. They'd put their head through the thing. We wouldn't even have to close it down.
That's awesome.
We'd just leave it there. They would eat their breakfast and we'd milk them. Now, and you could tell they got enjoyment out of it. Their little tails are wagging, they'd be sitting there eating, they'd make little happy goat noises.
Nice.
You could tell that they were not suffering. At the very least, they were not suffering. Okay,
that's awesome.
Whether or not they were having any sort of pleasure from it doesn't actually matter. Whether they were not suffering. Now,
you might have even eased their suffering.
Yeah, because they might have just been so heavy and bloated. I mean, and if you don't milk a goat or a cow for long enough, they will get infected and they will die. Now, part of that is down to the fact that we've bred certain breeds to just produce way too much milk. That's a whole nother story entirely. But it's not my fault that goat is like that, and it's not the goat's fault that goat is like that. They got to live in a nice big pasture. They got to be milked every day, and we got to drink their milk and make cheese and all this kind of stuff. And so in that situation, it's like Are they giving consent for us to drink the milk? I don't really know, but they're clearly giving consent to be milked. I think that maybe would be different for factory farming for sure, potentially. But I think that there would be a circumstance where you could say pretty positively that you are not causing this animal harm by taking its milk from it, and then consuming it for yourself, right?
Maybe it's a complicated issue. Because how do animals produce milk? You know, that's where like factory cows. That's a whole nother issue of really sad lives for these mama cows. You just have to ask yourself, if you go to the store and buy some milk, it's like, well, how did the cow get pregnant, and what happened to the mama's baby
100%.
when it was born?
Yeah, 100%.
So those are like two sad ones. I don't know enough about goats or animals who want or not want to be milked, but that for me is in the issue of commodities, where not my milk. That milk is not for me.
But what I'm saying is that in that situation where we're milking the goat and it wants to be milked, I don't view it as a commodity, and even if I did, I don't see how that would necessarily be a bad thing, right?
Yeah, it's just it wasn't made for me.
Okay,
Like
sure.
honey wasn't made for me. All these things weren't made for me, and I wouldn't feel comfortable taking them to use them for my own satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to drink human milk either, man. If someone said, "Here, you can drink my human milk,"
I didn't.
And here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing, man. Human milk grosses people out more than milk from another species. Where a human can consent, and like we're humans, and the milk is made for us.
Isn't that funny? Same thing with like horse milk.
Pretty gross.
Same thing with horse milk, but horse milk is actually something that people in the Middle East have been drinking for thousands and thousands of years. Camel milk too. But I'm good on the camel milk, buddy. I will pass on the camel milk.
None of those are for me.
They
weren't made for me.
There's a Mongolian drink made out of fermented horse milk that is apparently highly intoxicating. Apparently it tastes like tequila, but I've never.
Yeah, I live a pretty strange life right now because I don't eat gluten. I don't consume animal products. I don't consume any nicotine. I don't smoke marijuana. I don't drink alcohol. I don't drink caffeine. I live a pretty interesting life right now of sort of monk-like. And I live in a space that's 10 by 10 in the mountains next to a river. So
is this I mean, so I admire you for for being able to maintain that. I definitely tried to marijuana has been easy enough for me to kind of drastically reduce my intake of, because I can't work when I smoke. And I have taught high once, and it was fucking terrible, horrible. I can't practice when I'm high. Does it? So it's been really easy, but I like a beer now and then. I like a lot of beers now and then, and it's been somewhat difficult to kind of put all that aside. So I admire your ability to really commit to that. Is this something that you think? Like, do you think that this is just something? I don't want to call it a phase, because I feel like that's really disingenuous and dismissive. That's not what I mean. But like
I think you're curious about some of the reasons why I did these things. That's what it sounds like.
I am curious about the reasons, but I'm just curious. Like, do you see this as like a long-term lifestyle, or do you think that maybe at some point, this is sort of a learning project, something that at some point you'll move away from, and maybe you'll go back to sort of again, I don't want to do this because it feels really dismissive, but a more normal sort of way.
It's not very normal, is it?
I don't want to do that thing where it's like, well, you're not normal, man. But
I don't think so. I'm just at an unusual intersection right now where all these things, no drugs, no caffeine. Well, caffeine's a drug too. No drugs, no animals, no wheat. I'm just at an intersection of all these different things. Like with wheat, I've just been getting some really bad stomach issues every time I eat anything with wheat in it. So I'm just taking time away from it and seeing what it's like to. I mean, it's a lot of rice, and I love rice. So, and And then the same with caffeine. I was noticing that like on the days I had more coffee, my stomach would really hurt.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like a time, like I drink the coffee, then after a certain amount of time. But I haven't had coffee since over a year ago. So I
Wow.
quit drinking coffee a while ago.
When did you move
Uh,
into this tiny house?
This was in June.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
that's right. Yeah,
that's
you
why
said that.
all these things are just at
Yeah,
an
interesting.
intersection in my life right now. And marijuana, I've been, this one's been way longer than a year, almost like a year and a half, which is the biggest break I've taken since I was like 16 or 15 years old, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm trying to, I have some goals in mind that when I finish these certain projects, I'm going to allow myself to smoke marijuana again because I love it.
Hmm.
I just haven't in a long time. What else is there? Alcohol is just like uh, alcohol and nicotine are just like out of the other ones. Those just like kill you, man. Those just like straight up murder you.
Yeah.
And I know people who have died from both of those things.
Well,
Uh,
nicotine kind of not really.
yeah, I mean tobacco there because there
Yeah, yeah.
are other ways. There's like the gum. There's vaping.
I mean, because nicotine itself hasn't ever actually been linked to
Yeah, you're right.
it's the other chemicals and shit that something like one of the reasons that I'm trying to quit smoking is I read about all the like there's something like 4,000 chemicals in a cigarette.
Cigarettes are very
What the fuck
gross.
is that?
They're really gross.
Jesus.
Even though they feel amazing. I have something you might just like 2 or 3 days ago, someone gave me a pack of hemp flower cigarettes.
Oh,
And
sweet.
I haven't smoked anything in years. So I was so excited I had to like ask for a lighter. Uh I know, so funny. So I could smoke a hemp flower cigarette, no tobacco, no marijuana, and it was awesome. That was great.
Yeah,
I thought
I've
it was
had
really
some of
fun.
those. Yeah, I've had some of those. They're just like herbs and nice oils, and they just kind of taste really fresh and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I had one that
So
was
with
like a lavender lemongrass that I really liked.
Oh, that sounds
It's
so good.
delicious. That was really
Uh,
nice.
but with nicotine, that's been one that's been happening for a long time because I quit smoking like 3 years ago, and then I've been vaping ever since. And then I quit vaping, and then I was on the gum for a
Hmm.
couple months, and then now I'm just when was it? I think it was September 1st or October 1st. I've been clean since the nicotine. Uh, and that one was making me so depressed, man. Like you can't leave the house without your vape pen, with a pack of gum or
Hmm.
a cigarette. You can't leave the house. If you lose them, you lose your mind. It's just like you are a slave to nicotine. And
Yeah.
I was just really wanted to be free.
How
I
did
wanted to
you?
be free from that feeling.
How did you become free? Did you just quit cold turkey or
Cold turkey, baby.
shit? How was that?
Uh, well, I've been vaping for a long time.
Uh,
I mean, even on my old YouTube channel, like half my videos were like silly vape videos, like being like a vape lord. Uh, well, okay. So I used to vape what you used to vape, which is the sub-ohm vapes
uh,
with the juice that you just chug down. Those have like 5 milligrams nicotine,
okay.
five to like, right? 3, 6,
So
right?
yeah, I've got a 3 milligram, but yeah, they go above that, something like that.
Uh, yeah, so and those are great. I used to do that. But it's a huge cloud, and to get a nicotine fix, you have to do like
A
three or
lot,
four
yeah.
to get really satisfied. So then I switched over to the little tiny pens
Mhm.
with what are those called? They're not sub ohm. They have like
Salt,
30. Yeah, the
salt
salt.
licks, yeah.
Oh, the salts. The
That'll put you on
salts
your ass
are
if you're not used to it.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them so much more than the big juicy ones. So I switched to those, and those are great because you take one puff and you're good for like an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
Good for. I'm talking about some great achievement. 60 minutes, you're free from this horrible
You
lord.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to come crawling back.
Yeah.
So I like those. But then one day, Viktor Frankl. You ever hear of him?
Mm-mm.
He's a Holocaust survivor who
Mm.
afterwards became a professor and taught about the Holocaust and how people behave. His most famous book is called Man's Search for Meaning,
Mm.
Viktor Frankl. And part of the book is talking about asking what made certain people survive the Holocaust.
Hmm.
Was it if they were a man or a woman? Was it if they were really strong or had a good diet, or if they were healthy? And he found from his time that it had nothing to do with any of those nothing of those things. It was just if they wanted to live or if they didn't want to live.
Hmm.
And he said he noticed people who would behave in self-deprecating ways, like uh, going out of their way to eat chocolate, taking chocolate from other prisoners to eat their chocolate, smoking, drinking, all these things that are self-damaging.
Hmm.
These were the people who wouldn't make it through the Holocaust.
Hmm.
And that made me feel so depressed. I just asked myself, I was like, what is it about myself that doesn't want to live in his terms? Like, what part about me is trying to actively like damage my life? So that like really spoke to me and like really like made me feel so sad. And I was like, why am I doing something that is slowly killing me?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
if you can say, we don't know about vaping, but it vaping or vape juice, any of that, but it just really stuck out to me. And then a little while after that, I had a vape hit. You've probably had them, these vape hits that are just so gross. You take a vape hit and it's just like, ugh, maybe the coil's burned.
Yeah.
Maybe you ran out of juice, so you're just vaping cotton. Just a hit that is so
So
gross.
bad. Yeah.
And so I woke up, had one, put it down, and I was like, I can't take another ever. And that was the last one I took.
Hmm.
So that's not really good advice for anyone who's listening who's trying to quit right now, because that's not very. You can't just tell someone, "Oh, just stop, just take one last puff, and that's it." And the only day I had really difficulty was the first day. I kept coming. My brain kept saying, well, we should maybe not do it cold turkey. We should do maybe a vape hit every 6 hours for the next week.
Yeah.
I just kept trying to bargain with myself throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I got so close to doing it. But I just never gave in.
Yeah, it's hard because I've heard both sides of this, which is that you should quit cold turkey and just it's gonna fucking suck for like a few days or a week or two maybe. But then you'll feel great and you won't want it anymore. I've also heard that like that's not a really consistent or effective way to do it, that you need to do replacement or you need to do a scale down kind of a thing. And when you start Googling this stuff, you find numbers that support both, and it's like I don't really know. But this idea of like I don't know, like change through meaning, or I guess however you would want to put it, I think is really interesting. There's a lot of research that's been done, and at least forget about research, just anecdotally in my own life, I found that when I take on responsibility for something, perhaps in a sense of like my own health, which is not something that I'm taking on a whole lot of responsibility for, but I probably should, that it becomes more difficult. Life becomes more difficult, but it also becomes more meaningful. And so, one of the things that I've really been trying to do, especially with the pandemic and, all my tours got canceled and, all my gigs got canceled, is I've been really trying to remind myself that I have a responsibility to do this, to practice. It's not that, I mean, I love playing music, and at this point in my life, like I could probably just never practice and I could still have fun playing music. It's not like I'm some amazing, cellist, but like, I can hang. But when I tell myself like I have a responsibility once things go back to normal and I actually can take auditions and I can play and I can tour, I have a responsibility to be as good as I possibly can. And taking that on, and it's like, it's fucking, sometimes it's really easy to just sit down and just practice for two hours or so. Sometimes it's fucking hard. It's work. But
it's always work for me, man.
Coming out of it, it's like, I have so much more meaning. It's difficult to do that, but I think especially in American, or at least Western culture, to maybe generalize a little more, because we're so consumer driven and commodity driven, that we have lost the idea that work and responsibility, and I'm not talking like you have to break your back every day, but just take some responsibility, That's what's going to bring you meaning, and that's what's going to make the fun things actually fun. If you sit down on your ass and do nothing but play video games all fucking day, it's going to stop being
Sounds
fun.
pretty nice.
Listen, I've been there. I've just ignored my responsibilities, and I've just sat there and wasted my time, and eventually it stops being fun, and I get depressed, and I can't, I get, I have all these existential crises and whatever. And when I start really paying attention to, like, I have to do this work, even if it's just like sitting down and making sure that, like, my payroll's done, or like that my scheduling is on point, or blah 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 blah, that I come out of that feeling like I kind of know my place a little better. And I don't mean know my place as in like my own little slot that I fit into, but I know my place. Like I know the space that I'm in much better. As far as like, where am I going? What am I doing? What are my goals? How do I get there? And that seems to be a lot more meaningful than just like, well, let me just indulge in whatever I want to do right now. You seem to have actually taken that a little more to heart than I have, which I admire you for. Believe me.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's a battle for everyone, right? I don't think it's just Western people. I think everyone battles. The smartphone has really killed us, man.
Yeah, that's true.
The smartphone has really killed us.
And just to be clear, I think this is probably the human condition, but I just am not. I know a little more about Western culture than I do other cultures, because I'm just not part of those cultures. So I just don't want to like generalize too much, but
yeah, I get a really a strange kind of lonely feeling pretty much every day, and it doesn't matter if I'm talking with friends or anything like that. I get this lonely feeling all the time. I'll be practicing or working, and or I'll wake up and I'll want to look at my phone, and I choose not to. And it really eats away at me. I wake up and I force myself to jump out of bed, but nothing more. I want to lay in bed and look at my phone. I don't even know what. I'm working on music. I want to stop and pull out my phone and look at it. I don't go to Facebook. I don't go to Instagram. I don't do these things. I don't even know what I'm looking for. It's just this loneliness that really, really that hurts most every day. Anytime I'm trying to really work, I don't really know how to solve it. I don't even know if I'm explaining it properly, but I really try and limit my phone use. Maybe it's just like withdrawals, like long-term withdrawals. But it's like, even when I'm playing video games, sometimes I'll get that feeling where I'm like, I just want to look at my phone. I just want to like feel something. And if the video game's not doing me at that moment, I know Mr. Phone will do it.
Dude,
it's pretty depressing feeling.
I find myself like snapping out of it and feeling like I just came back from I've never had an out of body experience, but feeling like this must be what it's like. I'll sit down late at night, it's like I want to watch an episode of this show that I've been watching, right? I turn it on about 2 minutes later. Just through Reddit, I'm like, wait, what the fuck's happening? And it's like, what am I doing? I like this show. I've been watching Altered Carbon, which is I've never watched. Well, I watched the first couple seasons a while ago. Oh no, not good. No, not into it. No.
The first season was okay.
Okay, I haven't seen the second season. I watched the first few episodes a while ago and never got back to it. It's an
awesome world. I will give it that. It has one of the coolest worlds in like current TV shows. It has such a cool. What I do like a lot from Altered Carbon, they made a spin-off anime, just a short, hour, 15-minute anime. That is really cool. That's the direction I sort of want to see the franchise go in the future. Okay. They canceled the show after the second season. I don't know if that's a spoiler to you. So I feel like I just spoiled it.
No. Listen,
it is a book. It is a book also.
Yeah,
it's a series of books. Yeah. So you have something.
Yeah, read.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
Well, I think it's a cool TV show.
But it's just, forget about whether it's Altered Carbon or not. Watching something that I actually want to watch. I find myself just scrolling through my phone or playing some stupid fucking little game that doesn't really mean anything. And I feel like I'll snap out of it. I'm like, wait a minute, 20 minutes just went by and I don't know what the fuck's happening in this episode. And what have I done? I have done nothing. I've played this stupid little game that brings nothing to my life but momentary distraction. why am I doing this? It's like I don't even have a choice. Like, oh, it's almost like I don't even have control over it.
Yeah, that's the next addiction I should try and break, is go smartphone free.
Oh, so there's a phone called the Light phone.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, and here's my thoughts about all of it. A smartphone is very powerful. I just got a smartphone in the last 10 months, and before that, I had never had one before. I just had some rinky-dinky phone. So this is the first time where I have like apps on a phone. And so, I mean, the first thing I do with my phone is turn off all notifications except phone calls.
Yeah.
Because they just really bother me like that. But it's really powerful. Like if I'm working in my computer software and I can't open Chrome or Firefox because I'm using too much of my RAM working on the music. It's crazy the things I can do on my phone to assist with my music production at the same time. So the little phone that like only calls or whatever, that's cool. I'm sure that'll help for a lot of people. It's a thing that's like, it has to be a choice to resist the smartphone.
This is slowly becoming a glorified metronome. Is really what this is at this point to me. Yeah, I'm weaning myself off. I'm slowly like deleting all of my fucking stupid little games that I've downloaded that I never play again. I'm weaning myself off of Reddit. Well, I'm not even weaning myself. I'm just becoming more and more disinterested. In
Reddit
and social media, not as much poison as Facebook. I will say that. I will say that.
I have like 3 or 4 approved subreddits I can go to. Every other subreddit I banned myself from because they're poison. The first one was like 2 years ago when I banned r/all. That one is the worst. Yeah. That one is actually like a very addictive drug. Yes. And I've had all of them over these years. I allow myself to go to R Vegan Circle Jerk. Today I learned is the next one to go.
Today I learned's pretty good. It's okay.
It's good, but there's
useless. Some bullshit that's in there.
Let's see.
I found some things that I'm just like, that's not
it's really cool. And then I think I have one more I go to. One more that's approved. That might be it. Yeah. Today, what's the Am I the Butthole? I banned that one. Yeah. I don't cuss either. That's another thing I've slashed out of my life. I've slashed swear words out.
But okay, but what's the difference between saying asshole and butthole? You can say it. You know you want to say it.
I don't want to say it. I don't even think it. I don't even think those words. No, I've been clean from swear words for too long. You cannot break me, Joe Engel.
But what's the difference? What's the difference between saying asshole and butthole?
Well, one letter. One has one less letter than the other.
And so you're joking. You're basing these on the number of
letters? Just joking. Well, I mean, all my things I quit for a reason. Like I quit. Well, the swear words. I've had people in my life who've used swear words as a way to make me feel bad. And swear words are a great way to make someone feel bad. If you call them a stupid effer, and you say that a lot. So I just don't like how it like triggers me to hear swear words at this point. Okay. I'm like a little too sensitive about that.
I understand.
And from a different perspective, it's like, you have to force yourself to be a little more creative. If you axe these words from your language, then you have to come up with a way to be more precise with what you're trying to say. Because, like, what are you really trying to say when you're so upset and you call someone a stupid effer? That doesn't really mean anything. So if you're forced to be like, well, what am I mad about here? It's like an awesome dialogue that like fixes some other big problems in your life. Or even if you just bump into the table and you say some swear word because you just stubbed your toe. Like, I don't know, come up with something. Everyone says that. Come up with something different, like Jiminy Christmas or Mother Mary.
But there's something about the release of saying fuck when you stub your toe that is so much more enjoyable than saying something else. I
found that to not be true.
It's all personal experience.
When I stub my toe and I go, oh, sweet Mother Mary, that feels pretty good. Because I also,
I do have to be creative around my parents because they don't like to swear. And I did one time drop the F-bomb in front of my mom, and she was like, "We don't say that in this house." And
Joseph.
I was like
What's your
27.
middle name?
I was like 27, and I just shriveled. I was like, she still has that power over me. Yeah, Joseph Robert Engel. So if someone goes Joseph Engel, I have this. Even if I'm like waiting at like I don't know, fucking somewhere where they would say my name if I'm waiting in line, you know, whatever, a clinic or something, you know. I say Joseph Engel. I still have this kind of you know, feeling. And if someone says Joseph Robert Engel, I'm really because that's like my mom only really used my middle name when I was in trouble, and like when I was really in trouble, you know. And so it definitely has this. There's a very deep-seated, very old fear of my full name way down inside of me somewhere. Maybe it's up in here. I don't know.
That sounds worth exploring.
Well, listen, I am not interested.
Maybe not now, but
I am not interested at all in telling you, you know, that any of your choices are good or bad. However, I would say in the interest of, you know, you freeing yourselves from things, it's really easy, I think, to react to certain words or phrases in a way that is not, or in a way that you know, sort of has been dictated to you by your experiences and by other people using certain words or phrases. But you know, if you move past that stuff, you know, it's it's freeing. I mean, again, if you don't want to use swear words, then believe me, I don't really care if you use swear words or not. But at the same time, like I don't like hearing that, like, you know, you have this reaction because there are people that have used these words and made you feel bad in the past. Like, that's not acceptable. Like, fuck those people that have you know, been a butthole to you. You know, there's this concept of letting people live in your head rent free, and you know, if we are constantly sort of allowing ourselves and our relationships with other people to be tainted by someone who is, you know, really screwed with us in the past, or dare I say fucked with us in the past, because I think that's a very, very important distinction, then we are allowing them to have some level of control over our lives. I had a relationship towards my end at DU that ended pretty badly. I don't want to go into a ton of specifics because it's not really something I want to talk about that much.
And maybe they're watching right now.
No, she's not watching. Basically, this was not like a, hey, I just don't feel like we're working out anymore, it's time for us to say goodbye. This was like I would get ghosted for a few weeks, and then she'd talk to me, and then I would get ghosted again, and then she'd ghost me for a month, and then she'd talk to me, and then she finally broke up with me, and it was just this whole like month and a half long just tangled up heartache, you know. And it really, really messed with my relationships from then on. And then at a certain point I realized the reason none of my relationships are working is because I am so paranoid and so afraid that this person is going to hurt me or just mess around with me, but I don't have any evidence of that. It's just that this one person has done this, and I realized that she was still exerting some level of control over my. No, I don't think she intended for this to happen. Please don't get me wrong. I don't think that she, when I was sitting there back there like, yeah, I've ruined the rest of his relationship. I don't think that was happening. But in a sense, it was like I'm allowing this person who treated me badly, who treated me wrongly, to negatively affect other relationships that could actually be quite positive and healthy. And learning to kind of get myself away from that was difficult, but it feels a lot better. Looking back and going, most people are not that. Most people are not like that. They're not that bad.
Yeah,
you know?
That's a good reminder.
Yeah. But I get it.
That's tough, man.
Yeah.
Seems like you've grown a lot.
I'm trying.
Good.
You know, it's
that's
funny.
The whole point of the game, ain't it?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was thinking right before we started this Zoom call, I was making coffee, and I was thinking, and I was like, I realized you were one of the first people I met when I first came to Denver to do my audition. In fact, you might have been the first DU student that I actually interacted with. Yeah. I don't remember if I went into your practice room or you came into mine, but I remember talking to you, and you know, you were telling me about the school and about new music and about the composition program, and You know,
Yeah, I remember that.
you gave me some really bad advice about where to go to eat. You told me to go eat at Deli Zone. You fucker. Sorry, asshole.
Oh, did
You
I?
mean you butthole?
Feel like
Yeah.
I wouldn't have told you to go to Deli Zone.
Well, I ended up going.
Oh,
to
I
Deli
bet
Zone.
you said. I bet you said something like, "Is there any food around here?"
Yeah, something like that. And maybe I'm misremembering, but I ended up going to Deli Zone, which was a mistake. I mean, it's just bad. You know, Deli Zone closed, right?
No, I didn't know that.
A few months ago, which is good. They were terrible sandwiches. Very overpriced.
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's funny.
Yeah. So we are about an hour and a half into this thing. I can go till about
Time
1.
flies.
But I just want to make sure that I'm not taking up too much of your time. There are a couple more things I want to talk to you about.
All right. Shoot.
All right. Cool. Last thing on the veganism front. I'm just curious.
Okay. All right.
What are your perspectives on oysters as a vegan food?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know too much about oysters.
Okay. I really love oysters, and I've learned a lot about them recently. So the argument for them being a vegan protein is that they basically don't have a nervous system. They essentially.
Oh, I
lack a
guess
nervous
I have
system.
heard that.
Yeah. So the idea of them being able to suffer is sort of a moot point because they just don't even have the physiology, as far as we know, to actually experience pain. They're barely aware. Like they're aware. They can sense like three environmental factors, which is like, imagine only being able to sense 3 environmental factors. It's like, is that even awareness at that point? But also because they are.
That's awesome. I wish I could have that.
They're
slowly. I will.
They're super environmentally friendly, and if they're done right, they're actually
delicious.
They're actually they're carbon negative is what they are. They'll actually consume more carbon dioxide than it takes to produce them. And you know, one of the things I've been thinking a lot about this conversation about veganism, because I'm very compelled by the animal suffering argument, highly compelled.
Which is the only argument to be vegan.
Sure.
There are other arguments to be plant-based.
Okay, I think we're it's a label thing, but basically not eating meat anymore, however you want to label that. Not eating animal products, period. I've been thinking about a lot. There's another factor, but I don't want to drag that conversation out too long. But the idea of still being able to eat complete proteins.
Well, here's what I'll say. I think everyone should try and live their life in a more peaceful way where they don't cause suffering to other beings. But I know this guy who a very spiritual person, and because of some health issues, he can't eat meat often, like ever. Can't eat dairy ever.
Wow.
So because of this health condition, he has to be plant-based.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a hunter. But he does it in a way that's a very spiritual thing to him, a very important thing in his life. And he does it in a very specific way where it's all about honoring this animal's life. I don't like hunting. I'm not for it. I think it's cruel. But for him, he is closer to a vegan than most people, because how he lives his life is to try and limit animal suffering in everything that he does. So even though he eats meat and would eat a lot more meat if he could, he is someone who is vegan in a lot of senses. And I know a lot of other militant vegans would disagree with me, but I think it should be a goal for most people to be more vegan, even if that doesn't mean they're going to be more plant-based. Because I just think it's the right thing to do. I think it's the moral thing to do.
I think I'm beginning to see a little more where your distinction.
The difference
between
and it's an important distinction. I'm still trying to fix my speech, and which has been a long issue. Separating vegan and plant-based, because most of the time I say vegan, I really mean plant-based. Like, hey, do you want to have dinner tomorrow night? It will be
vegan. Plant-based.
It will be plant-based.
Damn it.
I'll
get there. I'll get there one day.
Yeah, and I think the difference is important, because you can say uh, like to stop. I'll give you another quiz. To help limit climate change, the problems of climate change, we should adopt a diet that is more
Plant-based.
there you go. Which also in a lot of ways is vegan because a lot of things that are like in Brazil, last year they burned a lot of the rainforest. Everyone was upset about it. And they did that to make space to grow crops,
Soya
which
beans.
I've heard people say, see, you vegans aren't that great either. You burn the rainforest, but all the crops in Brazil that have been cleared the rainforest to grow are for cows.
Sure.
And the thing is, we as humans pay for that to happen. We pay for the rainforest to be cut down. Every time we buy a hamburger, we buy beef, we're saying, okay, I am paying a little bit to have the rainforest burned down. And soybeans, this is another thing people argue against veganism about, but soybeans, 70% of soybeans are used for livestock. So if we ate less livestock, we'd grow less soybeans that harm the environment. So that's my big takeaway about being vegan is just try and harm animals less, just as a moral thing to do. Open your eyes up to the ways that even like there are shampoos that we don't need to test shampoo. We don't need to have a facility where we like wash dogs' hair for like 24 hours a day to test all these shampoos. We don't need to do stuff like that. That's just mean to those little puppers. So that's my big takeaway for anyone who's listening, even you, Joe. My request as a fellow human being, please be nicer to animals in some way, even if it's not as far as you can be nice to them. If you still want to eat burgers, if you still want to eat bacon, whatever, I don't care. Just find a way to be nicer to animals. And I think everyone should do that. The world would be a better place for everyone. And that's what veganism means to me.
Okay.
And I'm sure there are a lot of people, meat eaters, who are, oh, that vegan, I hate him, which is fine. I'm just out here trying to be a voice for the voiceless. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. And I think I'm against animal cruelty and animal suffering. I think that should go without saying for most people. I guess my hang up is that I'm sorry, I just don't think it's as simple as we just need to be less mean to animals. There is also the issue of human nutrition to some degree.
Well, take it like this then, Joe. So maybe the way you ease the whole worlds of animal suffering is not through a diet. Maybe you do it in some other way. Maybe you say, I'm going to donate $5 a month to restoring the wildlands. I don't know. I call on everyone who's listening to find some way that makes sense in your life to help out animals on this planet. Because, man, this is not a fun time to be a human, and it is way worse to be an animal. Like, the reason there are so many deer running through here recently, I've seen 4 or 5 times a flock of wild turkeys, maybe like 40 or 50 wild turkeys just running through the area where I live. And it's just because of these fires. So all these animals are coming down from the mountains because the fires are just like 2 miles up there. So even if we don't see eye to eye on the diet issue, I think there are ways everyone can find a way to ease animal suffering. So it may not just be diet for you, maybe something else.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. Ease suffering in general. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the I think you called them gamer packs.
Oh yeah, my
game packs.
My life's work.
Yeah. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that. I find the sort of realm of video game music to be really fascinating. It's got a little bit of, it seems to me like it's got a little bit of feet in both worlds of kind of like film composing, but also a little bit on sort of the more complicated sort of programming side, because it has to be reactionary to something that's not scripted. So what are you actually pursuing with the video game composing, and how does that manifest?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say I would say video game music is a lot more free than film music, and I wouldn't say they're very similar at all. Video game music can be anything. I've heard all kinds of genres, instrumentations, musical styles for video games. So if it's music, it can go in a video game, which is very freeing for any music maker because in video games, there's room for every musician to make a soundtrack for a video game. And they're really, I mean, there are video games that are reactionary, that things in game trigger musical events, but I've honestly never even played one of those. All the games I play just have soundtracks, which is really awesome. Because I have heard a lot of people feel afraid like they can't get into writing for video games because they don't know the programming part of it. But my main point here is there are billions of video games, and there's no way, one way that all video games are. So there's room for everyone who wants to be a video game composer. I mean, you could record stuff on your cello. There you go. You find the right person. That's a video game soundtrack.
So simple.
So it really is. So for the past maybe 2 years, I've worked a lot on music licensing, which is you write music, you post it online in a marketplace for it to sell, you set the price, you set the tags, and then you wait for people to buy it. So it's a very slow game at first where you're just working day in, day out, posting these things online. Here's music for a 5-second commercial. Here's music for a 10-minute loop for a video game. Here's music for a farm to table infomercial. So it's very slow at first because you're just working day in, day out on these tracks, posting them online, getting them listed, getting them tagged and priced. But then after a certain while, the money starts coming in where you'll get a little notification, you'll get an email that'll say, you just made $50. You just made $30. You just made $60. And so that's been the name of the game I've been trying to do for the past 2 years, is just get as many of those online to as many websites as I can to get some passive income rolling in. It's still not where I would want it right now. I can't live just off of that, but that would be such a big goal someday, to make money while I sleep.
Is it a matter of just getting a certain amount of material out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what all the pros say, who are the pro music licensors. They say 1,000 tracks is where you want to be, which is hard. That's 1,000 pieces of 2-minute music.
Like Ken McLeod, who's somehow on every YouTube video ever.
Oh, who is that guy? I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
MECLEOD or something.
That's what I was thinking.
You see his name if basically every YouTube video, just about, if you go down and look at the music credits.
That's who I was thinking of. Here's why I don't like him. He gives his music away for free, which is awesome. He's in a position in his life where he doesn't make money from doing that, so he gives it away for free, which is just really damaging to the music ecosystem.
Economy.
But yeah, so that's really disappointing that someone's like that, because why would someone spend $30 for a piece of music when they can get it for free?
I did not know that I did that.
So anyway, since last January, I've sort of taken a pause on my main project because I was trying to do like 2 pieces a week. You write a 2-minute piece of music, you make a 30-second version, you make a 15-second version, 5-second version, you make a version that loops, you post them all. That still only counts as one track, right, but you have all these more options for people to buy. Because next time you're on YouTube, wait for a 5-second ad or 15-second ad and listen to the music. That's how I get a lot of my ideas. What pieces of music are being used for that. So anyway, since January, I took a break from that and I've started working on a big gamer pack for the Unity store. Unity is a software that people use to make video games, a really popular software that a lot of indie games are made from. And there's a Unity store, so you can buy 3D models, sound effects, maps, pieces of code, just things to buy that'll help make your video game quicker. And there's a whole music section, and it's not really expanded yet. There's only, last time I checked, there are only like 2,000 packs, which is pretty small.
It's not a lot, yeah.
So I've been working on a gamer pack for every piece of video game music I can imagine. So the idea for this project is someone would buy it and have all the pieces of music they need for a fantasy game. That's mostly what I've been doing. What all my music has been is just fantasy music. And I love fantasy. So just imagine like Breath of the Wild or Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. If you made a Lord of the Rings game, well, you need dungeon music, you need overworld music, you need hometown music, you need water music, battle music,
running music.
So running music. So I've been working on this for what month is it? 11, almost 12 months. And lots of things have come up in my life to make this take longer, but I'm at like 25 tracks of music right now. Really, really great, impressive tracks.
Sweet.
They're all orchestra pieces. This is the longest I've ever worked on any project. And the fun thing about this is all of these pieces could be played by a real orchestra. So as I've been going through, I've also been making the sheet music for them. Sweet. I don't really know why. There's not going to be orchestras don't exist anymore. So I don't know why I'm making the sheet music for these, but it's just such a fun project. And I love making computer music because I just get to write every day. I wake up and write orchestra music. Huge horns, beautiful string instruments that are arco or plucked or détaché or spiccato. And it's just it feels so powerful. Beautiful pianos and giant orchestral halls. And so, I have it's like 2 hours of music so far.
What are you
so awesome.
What are you using as far as like software to actually create the tracks?
Yeah, so I'm using a mix of libraries. Library is like a folder of sounds, and all those sounds are mapped to MIDI notes. So the simpler way to think about this is I can play notes on a piano and I can say what instrument that'll be. So I'll change it to a trombone and I can play the trombone. And if I have a slider, I can have it go brrr, get louder or softer. And with strings, okay, here's where I show off my string knowledge. If I do the little switch, they don't bow faster, they bow with more pressure.
Okay.
Is that right? To get louder?
Usually speed is how is
Okay, I was wrong. So you bow faster.
Yeah.
Okay, so the changes how fast you bow.
So pressure actually doesn't tend. It might get you a little bit of extra volume, but it's really
the speed.
It's the speed, because it's the volume comes from the amplitude of the string vibrating back and forth. So if you're bowing at a small speed, the string's vibrating maybe this much. If you're bowing at a fast speed, it's vibrating this much, which gives you a larger wave, which is what contributes to volume. If you press, actually what happens is you can actually
make it softer.
You can actually make it softer. Or you can just or it'll stay the same, but the sound may get more intense, more focused. Okay. But at a certain point, you will just end up making it sound crunchy and gross. So
gotcha. The main libraries are all by East West, which is a great VST company.
It's a wonderful library.
And
their sounds are super good.
Yeah, most of my libraries are different East West ones. Then I use Spitfire a lot too, which is another one all orchestral composers love. Spitfire is really amazing, and they release a free virtual instrument every month. And some of those I use more often than the ones I paid for. Like there's a dulcimer one that has hammered, fingered, and a mini dulcimer. I use that one so much. One of their other free ones.
I've always thought dulcimer is such like an essential fantasy sound. Like if you toss dulcimer in there, a little dulcimer solo, it automatically becomes more like fantasy village-y kind of sound.
And I've learned all these tricks. Dulcimer is a great one. Chimes are a great one. Chimes make it sound like you're in a city with a big bell in it. Awesome. They're just Spitfire. They make really great virtual instruments, and for anyone wanting to try them out, they do a free one every month, and they make some really great free ones. Just like a month or two ago, they released a mandolin, and that one sounds nice. I haven't found a chance to use it yet, but that one sounds really, really clean. And then I use some contact instruments also. I'm sure most orchestral any video game composers who do it with a computer use Contact.
Cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I think all these things are really inspiring for anyone who wants to enter this like career lifestyle, because you with a cello and a microphone can do virtually the same things that I do: release licensed music and release video game music. So pretty much any musician can do it. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. It's really inspiring. If you want a way to make music and you're in lockdown, start selling music online.
Yeah.
I mean, if I need a cello sample and I don't have one, I go to these websites and listen through their cello stuff before I find out, and I go, oh, perfect. That's exactly the cello sound I need. Buy it, put it into my work.
That's awesome.
So
you're
yeah.
making me feel inspired, Jasper. I haven't composed in so long.
Yeah,
maybe I should.
And you don't even and sometimes when I get into a really work heavy phase of licensing, you don't even have to compose. You just take Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, anything that's free, take the MIDI of it, or in your case, just play it, record it, polish it, put it online. People might buy it. People have bought it. So yeah, I'm not very close to 1,000 yet, but I took almost this whole year off. So. And the gamer pack is a little different, but
how many tracks have you written so far?
I think I'm at 112.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. But that's still like 900 to go, and I only did like 30 or so this year, which is not very many at all.
Do you feel like you're getting faster at it the more you do it? Like that you can go from nothing to like a complete project quicker, or?
Yeah, there are lots of tricks I'm learning. Like one of the biggest tricks I do right now, I write everything I start and I just write chords and a melody in a piano instrument. No rhythms in the chords, few rhythms in the melodies, just try and do chords and a melody. And then after that, I arrange it a little bit, add some rhythms in the chords, add some rhythms or maybe some harmonies in the melody. And then after that, I orchestrate it. Mm-hmm. So that really sped my process up. Cool. So imagine this. You have all these orchestra instruments and maybe the flutes, the violin one, the glockenspiel, and let's say a snare drum all play the melody. Mm-hmm. And you decide, oh, actually the melody, I'm going to do the rhythm like this. Uh-huh. Then you have to go through all the different ones. The flute's all the way up here in a high register. You have to change that note. The violin one's an octave lower, so you have to go down and change that one. The snare drum is just all on one MIDI note, so you have to go and change that one. So that one's very slow. So I like to write everything in piano when I start with, and before I orchestrate anything, have the piano completely perfect. And then I go, okay, everything's done. So now I can just copy, paste, move things to different instruments. So that one, when I learned how to do that and perfected that, that really started saving me some time. Yeah. And especially like if you have 90 channels and you say, actually right here, I want it to slow down, pause, and start over again. That means you have to make 90 cuts in the file, push all of them over, move all these. So it just takes like, it can take a, But if you have just one, so that's 1/90th of the time. Nice. So it's a really fun hobby. I guess it's my job. It's a really fun job.
It sounds like a great job.
Yeah, it is.
And so, like, I know that a lot of these libraries, you know, you can go in and you can say, well, you know, I need something that's, you know, you can kind of jot down these sort of keywords like I want something spooky but upbeat, or like I want something that's very suspenseful, or I want something that's peaceful. Are you kind of sitting down and kind of from scratch going, okay, you know, a lot of my stuff is more on this kind of end, so I really want to fill out these sort of keywords? Or are you just kind of coming up with ideas and going, you know what, that sounds like this would be really more suited for like a haunted house, so let me really like figure out how to flesh this out? Like how are you figuring out what sort of categories to put these things in?
That's a great question. Well, there's like the wide shot approach and the very niche approach. Right when I started, I was doing orchestral music for esports. So like League of Legends or CSGO for professional streams. So esports music. And on the big website Pond5 when I started, there were under 100 esports tag tracks. So I thought, this is awesome. So I made esports music for a long time until like it wouldn't be, you just scroll down and see my name over and over if you looked for esports music.
Right. Sweet.
Now, not a lot of people look for esports music. So am I going to get more sales that way? Or if I go, okay, today's hip hop day, tomorrow's rap day, Wednesday's orchestra, fantasy orchestra. So am I going to make more money if I do it that way?
Right.
And I've tried that too. At this point in my life, it's basically, you said something about practicing while you practice because you have to, or because it gives your life meaning. I wish I had something like that. I don't get meaning when I practice piano or when I compose. It's really simple for me. I just do it because it's fun. Uh, that's the whole reason why I make this music. So, and I wasn't having fun making different music every day. I have fun just imagining a scene in my head. Like, okay, I just like start imagining like some of my favorite fantasy or sci-fi movies or books. Imagining like, okay, what am I working? I'm working on a big boss battle right now. So I'm imagining some of my favorite, like think about it in movies or games or books, like a big monster that you're fighting, or even like a big army, like Lord of the Rings. I've only seen it once, and I only saw it like 2 months ago, first time ever.
Really?
Because that's,
Wow.
I know it's crazy. In maybe the second or third one, no, maybe even I think it's the second one, right before Gandalf dies. And
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. And there's like a big orc there,
Yeah.
and they're fighting him, and
Yeah.
Pip like accidentally made too much noise.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm imagining, like bump, 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 bump.
Drums
like,
in the deep. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Nice.
that's what I imagine. So that's what I'm working on right now. And then after that, I'll have an idea I'll be listening to music and I'll go, oh, that'll be a great idea for a water scene, or that'll be a great idea for like crossing through the desert. So really for me, it's just, I try and live my whole life in a way that's fun. Cause if you're not having fun, like if I don't have fun making music, then like, what else is there left of my life, man? I mean, no drugs, no caffeine, no meat. So I have to really find ways to make it fun. And if you have fun, that's how you keep going.
Yeah.
Like you can think of a lot of musicians who have burnt out. I can think of a lot of musicians who have burnt out. And why do they burn out?
I've burnt out myself.
I burn out too. And the reason it happens is because you're not having fun. You just do it for some reason. You're like, why am I doing this? It's not fun. And then you say, oh, I'm not going to do it. I
think it's different for every. I mean, I really burn out after I got out of grad school, and it was less about it not being fun and more about it being. I felt like I lost a support system. Like when you're in school, especially as a performance major, you know, you're always in, you know, chamber music and orchestra, and you've got solo recitals, and people are asking you to play their compositions, and you know, you're playing on singer showcases, and you're playing in opera, and you're constantly, here's all the shit that I have to work on. And I loved it.
That sounds fun.
It was great. No, it was great because it was like, I don't have to really, you know, I can choose my own repertoire, but I'm working with my private teacher to choose the pieces that I'm working on in etudes and stuff. And sometimes, depending on who you're, you know, some teachers will be like, well, here's 5 options, pick one. Some teachers are like, you're going to play this, you're going to play this, you're going to play this. So, you know, but whatever. But most everything is pretty much prescribed to you. Or, you know, in the case of quartet, maybe you get to work with people and be like, we really want to do Black Angels by George Crumb, which is fucking ridiculously cool to play. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was so much fun. And then you get out of grad school and you're like, oh shit, I don't have any of this anymore. And it was just really difficult to adapt to that, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I got burnt out. And then it seemed like I just didn't have any opportunities. I was really, you know, I was pushing my resume out to like every wedding music coordinator I could find, every church. Denver's just so freaking saturated with musicians. It's just difficult to stand out sometimes. And it was like all of a sudden I realized that either no one had told me how to deal with this, or I hadn't paid attention. Either way, I didn't have a clue. And so I got really burnt out, and it just felt like I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't getting better at my instrument. And so that was part of it. And then I realized, after kind of taking a break for a few months and almost never playing, minus a gig here and there, I realized that it was the only thing that really not the only thing, but it was one of the most important things, that one of the things that really brought me a lot of meaning and happiness. And it's being burnout is different for everybody. Maybe for some people it stops being fun, maybe for some people it stops having meaning, or it just starts becoming boring or something like that, or you just lose interest, or you just lose motivation. But it's kind of adapting to that, and trying to find the way to look at it, the way to approach it, that seems to work. And it sounds like that's what you've done. You've kind of found something that you really like. You've described it as fun multiple times throughout this whole conversation, and I love that. It sounds like a blast, and you really making me want to try this myself. But it sounds like you found a way, a path, to kind of one particular focus, and you're exploring inside of that, and I think that might be the antidote, at least for me. I found it to be true, to be the antidote to feeling burnout and like you don't have any direction. Is if every direction is open to you, you have no direction. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you stand there in the fucking cereal aisle and you're like, I don't know which one. Do I get Cocoa Puffs or Cocoa Crisps, or do I get Cocoa Balls, or do I get Fruity Pebbles, or what am I doing? But if you had three choices, it'd be super easy, and you'd make that choice and you just go on your way, and you wouldn't have this existential crisis about cereal. Which
sounds like you have a lot of the answers already in your head about these things, man.
I don't know if they're the right answers, though. That's my problem. I have an answer. I don't know if it's the right answer, right? But that's the struggle. So, Jasper, this has been really fantastic. I'm really happy we got to talk.
Yeah, really nice talking with you, Joe.
I have to go because I need to practice, and I have students in about an hour or so. But anything you want to plug real quick? Anything, if anyone ends up listening to this at some point, anything you want?
Yeah, this is going to be the most watched podcast in the next 500 years.
Hopefully, yeah, we'll see.
Let's see. I have started a new hobby recently, making pixel art. Just a fun, no pressure hobby. I'm on Twitter and Instagram under Pixel Art Student. If you want to come follow me and bump my numbers up from 6 to 7, that'd be awesome. I'm just making I'm just making a piece of pixel art every day, just having a fun time, learning how to make pixel art. And then I'm on Twitter under I Write Good Music, so twitter.com/I Write Good Music. I'm going to be releasing that Game Pack and Spotify album before too long. I mean, oh, Mother Mary, I said I would finish it months ago, but here we are still working on it. I think this has been really fun, Joe. Thanks for having me on. Dude. I wish you all the best luck. I hope your podcast keeps going. I'm excited to tune in for the next episode.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Stay on. Don't log off just yet. All right.
Okay.
Whoever ends up watching this, thank you so much. And